Multi-company in Simpro is an optional extra. It's an add-on, right? So you may or may not have it in your build. But to check whether or not you do have it and whether or not you have access to multiple companies in your Simpro, you can look in the very top left-hand corner, and if you see a drop-down list where you can select from multiple options, like I can, it means that you have multi-company on your Simpro. Multi-company is either used for one or two things. It's either used for separate legal entity companies, so totally different companies with different names and different company registration numbers, or, as in my example, I've got one for service and one for projects, and then the template at the bottom, which we don't use. The template is just for you to configure and set things up. So just a really brief explanation of how multi-company works and what it does and why you might be using it in your business. If I'm in service, it means that I should book in my service jobs into this particular area. And it might be that your departments are totally separate. So it means that if I go into jobs, I'm automatically just looking at my service jobs. I'm not relying on clicking into business groups or cost centers to change my service types of work or cost centers over into service ones to filter out projects. I can purely see my information here, or selecting between service and projects in here. It's pre-filtered. It also means that you can separate out employees as well. So if I go to one of the employees, you'll notice I've got Dan Bevan here. And if I click on the companies tab, which again is specific to having multi-company, if you don't have multi-company, you won't see a companies tab inside your employees and contractors. You can see here that Dan is available to work on service and projects. He isn't available to work on template if I put it over here. But I could say, okay, well, Dan isn't available to be scheduled into projects work for the project side of the business. So I'm going to move that over there. So now Dan is purely available for service. Interestingly, if I was to go and have a look at a job in here, so let's get this job number. And if we now change over to projects, we obviously change into our project side, so we purely see our project work. We can now search that job number. And if you can see in this search in the top right-hand corner against this job, you've got small works and projects automatically selected because I'm in my projects area. If I change it to all, it will show me my result in all of the companies that I have, because I can have multiple. I don't need to have just two. I can have 3 or 4 or 5. As many as you like, actually. If I click into that job, which belongs in the service side, it takes me into the service side, as long as I've got permission to access that particular area and that particular cost center and business group and so on and so forth. But I can have jobs open in both different areas. So if I now go, by the way, if you ever see the drop-down list disappear, like it has done for me just now, all you do, return to the dashboard and you'll see it drop down again for you. If I switch over to projects, and let's say I want to open up a quote in projects, I can have different things open from different companies and just switch between them. So that's an important thing to note. Don't think that you have to just work in one or the other. You can switch between the two. One of the things that is important to note, though, is that when you go and create a new quote or a new job, let's say if I go and create a service type quote in the projects area, it's not going to stop me in the system from creating a service type quote because it doesn't know that I'm in projects. It doesn't read that word at the top there and go, you have to create a project type quote because you're in the project area. So that's down for you guys to control. So that's a really brief explanation of multi-company, and hope it helps for those of you who do use multi-company.